Even something any self-respecting 16th century artist could paint has to be laboriously mapped into the computer from a model. To get Robert Abel's real book to fly, they cribbed from the pioneer photography of Muybridge. But for computer programmers, the real fun is in the doing. Randy Roberts.
We had people here 24 hours a day. It got insane. There were people sleeping here towards the end. We'd have shifts of people coming in the morning that wouldn't see the people that were working in the night.
Even when you don't see all the details, you can sense them. And that's what makes great computer graphics.
But does this fly past by a squadron of gifts from an antique shop have the same mystery and suspense as the smell, feel and tingle of expectation of a musty book of Grimm's fairy tales? Perhaps it does. Nowhere else do we see as much computer graphics as in the titles for broadcast sports. Along with running shoes that look like the space shuttle, outfits cast from plastic, and teams marketed like soft drinks, sport on American TV is an obvious candidate for this completely synthetic look. Designer Carl Rosendahl.
Color and lighting is a very important factor, particularly with graphics, where you're trying to get across a look and a feeling in 10 seconds. You can pick some perfect blue for your object, but you don't know what color it's really going to be until you light it. If you light it with only red lights, it's going to look purple.
The three-dimensional quality of these images is due entirely to the way they appear to reflect light. Using this wireframe ball, the number and position of light sources can be chosen. With the surface now added, this image can be placed or mapped onto the ball as a reflection. The same image can then be used as a background behind the finished ball. This still life is created on a workstation like this. The animator works on modeling a wireframe apple which is given several sides. The completed 3D model is rotated. What we end up with is an impossibly symmetrical apple. But the exercise reveals how so-called wireframe models are used as the skeleton construction for all computer animation, just as a sculptor uses wire to support the lifelike plaster flesh of a bust. Color, transparency and shadow all help to deceive the eye into accepting these objects as solid. We can even have a wooden apple. Computer energy is used up quickly when color is animated, so the designers always do dry runs on the wireframe model first. A wireframe is often more compelling than the final result. It's interesting how little information we need to see this as a street scene. With flat color added, the design needs less input from the viewer because we expect it to be more real. But as the designers add more detail, the computer sequence of something as familiar as a street scene becomes strangely less real to look at. But when the sequence is unfamiliar or even invented, the final image will be strangely attractive, rather like a dream. It's as though the more familiar an image, the less likely a computer is to convince us. Another approach is to dispense with reality and to mimic a Disney-esque cartoon style. Although characters like this look like traditional cell animation, they have all been achieved in a computer. Perhaps the problem is that the computer animators have yet to discover a style for themselves, something recognizably computer designed. Computers are certainly capable of mimicking many different techniques. Perhaps the closest to a distinctly original style are sequences like this French film, where the smooth flight path of the viewer and the roughness of the drawing complement the graphic action design.
Ooh la 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 la.
The process of simulating human activity with the computer is extremely difficult. It's much easier to fly a logo than to create believable human motion. But the challenge of the synthetic human in all its subtleties is as irresistible to designers as it was to Frankenstein. After 3 years of computer effort and more than $1 million, this deceptively simple Canadian sequence is widely regarded by the industry to be state-of-the-art.